Funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on Newswire on the Buffy Network and Rumble. Check us out, subscribe. Type in Newswire on Rumble and YouTube if you prefer that. We'd rather you do Rumble, but that it is. Of course, Biden's out. Harris thinks she's in. Lots of stuff going on. We'll get into that. Of that. Cheatly. Nancy May said the best one. Man, it's getting good on the, especially, well, the House of Representatives in the District of Criminals has always been raucous, a little more edgy than the stuffed shirt Senate. Man, they're getting down. Even the chicks are rolling with the stuff. We'll get Nancy Mace's question, statement, whatever you want to call it, of the day here in a bit on the cheater at the Secret Service Agency. Dr. Kelly should be on. I'm sure she'll have a couple of things to say, as she usually does, on all this good stuff going on. I want to take you back to Saturday a little bit, when the Joe Biden announcement was on Saturday. First, very unusual, you would have a news break like that on Saturday. And not in his official statement from the White House, but on the X machine, and there's only 3 or 4 people supposedly that knew about this and just before it came out, that he was pulling out of the presidential race for 2024. And he endorses Kamala Harris, of all people. Joe Biden hates Kamala Harris, like with just about everybody else. Nobody likes her. Well, maybe her dog. She has a cat. Maybe the dog doesn't. Maybe the cat does. When she was in California, nobody could stand her. Her staff said she was dumber than a box of rocks. She's a bitch and a witch. She comes in and just demands everything, thinks her ass doesn't stink. You got to bow down to her. That's Kamala Harris. That was when she was Attorney General. We'll get into the Prop 47 stuff and the other extracurricular activities that launched Kamala Harris. But she has had more turnover in staff in the White House than anybody times 10. Nobody can work with her for any reason at any time. They despise her over there. They despised her when she was in California. This whole little unity tour that's going on right now most likely will be a sham. Joe Biden did this and endorsed Kamala Harris because, of course, Obama, Pelosi, and Jeffries and Schumer were tagging along like little puppies. We're basically demanding Biden gets out. Polling numbers were bad. They thought they knew it was going to affect Senate races, governor's races, congressional races, city council seats, everything. So Biden says, okay, finally agrees to it. What he didn't tell them was he was going to endorse Kamala. That was Joe Biden's big middle finger to the establishment. If you're going to shove me out the door, then you're going to get little Miss Harris. You won't hear this kind of reporting probably anywhere. Because 2 things. Most don't have the guts to say it. And a lot of you probably won't believe this, but I got sources in places a lot of people don't. Or won't. Let's put it that way. They might know it, but they won't say it. One thing they do know, just almost to a T, if something needs to get out or needs to be said, yours truly will say it. So that was Joe Biden's middle finger. And then, of course, all the Act Blues and the PMSNBCs and all that were just going, oh, and Morning Joe was all just in a Twitter over Kamala. She's about. She may enjoy a little bit of bump here. But the polling up to this place and the sentiment, and you could feel it, just in anecdotal evidence, scientific polling evidence, she was doing way worse than Joe Biden. So we will see in the next 3.5 months. I say she's going to have a bigger defeat than Joe Biden was. This is going to be another be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Here's one of Mr. Willie Brown's favorite women, Kamala Harris. Here we go.
Will do everything in my power to unite our Democratic Party, to unite our nation, and to win this election. You know, as many of you know, before I was elected as Vice President, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California, and before that I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
You heard the first laugh coming out of there like, we can't really believe you said that. And people kind of panicked or like, oh, we shouldn't have had that reaction. Well, we're going to turn it and we're going to act like we're happy. Oh, yeah, she was district attorney of San Francisco. We know the Willie Brown story. She was attorney general of the state of California, then went on to become senator, then Biden, in a deal he cut with James Clyburn to deliver South Carolina when Biden was eating it bad in the 2020 primary. Clyburn said, I deliver South Carolina, but you're going to put Kamala in as VP. And the rest is history. Kamala Harris, Prop 47, she was Attorney General. The Attorney General writes the ballot summary. She wrote the ballot summary for Prop 47. Of course, it was called the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. That allowed criminals to walk into a store and as long as they stole less than $950, they could walk out the door, no prosecutions, no jail time, no nothing. Basically. That made our communities safer. We got vagrants being able to steal stuff, then sell it, then use drugs and stuff and live on the streets, and we have become the vagrant capital of the world. She lied through her teeth. And she will continue to do that. Here we go.
Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
No, she knows her type. That's exactly what she did. She got her start under the desk of a married man of a powerful person. She knows how to play the game. She has played the game to a T to get where she is today. She's dishonest, disingenuous, and I never thought I'd say this. If she isn't hated as much as Hillary Clinton, she's running an extremely close second. But we all know her type. Here's finishing up on the clip from her little speech today. Here we go. You hear the fake applause.
And in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his.
Oh, we really hope so. Little Miss Deary, we'll put your record against Donald Trump. Let's talk about the border. You, 10, 20, 30 million illegal crossings under you when you were the border czar for Joe, versus Trump, who had this thing locked down tighter than a drum. Inflation up, energy prices up, drill baby drill, $2 a gallon under Kamala, $5. Grocery prices through the roof. You can't afford it. You can't afford electricity to turn on the air conditioner. Practically everyone's quality of life has suffered immensely under this. They were prospering under Donald J. Trump. Let's have that record every day of the week, Missy. Back about 6 or 7 months ago, she was at the New York Times, was interviewed by Andrew Soskin. Here's some of that.
Is because of his age. I just say it objectively. That's the issue. Kevin McCarthy was here this morning, and he was, in very stark terms, effectively said that he did not believe that President Biden was the same President Biden that he used to talk to. Went so far as to say that when they were having the debt negotiations, that he didn't even think he was negotiating with him, that he thought he was looking at cards, and that if the information effectively wasn't on the cards, he wasn't able to do it.
With all due respect, when anyone who has had the experience that he has most recently had, I don't think he's a judge of negotiations.
So right off the get-go, don't answer the question. That was 7 months ago. McCarthy, who's meeting, Speaker of the House at the time, meeting with Joe Biden, saying, hey, the dude's lost it. Kamala, oh, they just attack Kevin McCarthy. not what he said.
But that being said, to the point, because it is a point that has been made, first of all, I would say that age is more than a chronological fact. I spent a whole lot of time with our president, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room and in other places. And I can tell you, as I just mentioned, not only is he absolutely authoritative in rooms around the globe, but in the Oval Office, meeting with members of Congress, meeting with leaders in industry, meeting with community leaders, I will tell you that he is in front of, often, everyone in the room in terms of thinking about how we can resolve issues, negotiate in a way that is about concession where necessary, but for the sake of accomplishment and actual work. Remember, so many talked about, and one in particular, Infrastructure Week. It never happened under Joe Biden's leadership. There were many who said, don't give concessions on this or go a different way on that. He was steady, he was mature, and he made the call every time. Only one person sits behind the resolute desk.
Let me ask you in a more complicated way. I think there's a lot of people who would say, she can't say anything else. She couldn't tell if there was a problem.
I'm not lying.
If there was
I'm telling you a fact.
But if there ever is a problem,
Yeah.
do you think that you could go tell the American public? Do you think in your role that you're in a position to do that?
Of course.
Notice the long hesitation. Would you tell the American public? Of course. With a quivering lip. With the laughing hyena, she controlled it a little bit that time when she first got asked the question. Kamala Harris will lie through her teeth. She knows Joe has not been mentally stable enough to be running the country. She knew it 7 months ago. She knew it today. She didn't say diddly squat. We know she's a lying sack of ish. This was posted on the X machine.
I'll be the first to admit that I was a Trump hater. I did not like Trump at all. I thought that he was the most racist human being on this earth. I didn't understand why people praised him as a president or wanted him to be elected in the first place. It's embarrassing to say that the media did get to me, that I believed all those lies they sold, not only them, but a bunch of influencers. Like I said, so embarrassing. But here we are 4 years later, and I can confidently say that the choice has never been more clear, and I will be voting for Trump come November 5th. I am only 22 years old. I understand that I am still young. But if you're somebody that used to be like me, that was a little bit more liberal or leaning towards Biden, just anybody really that wasn't Trump, I urge you to dig a little bit deeper. The main thing I was always told was, oh, you're Mexican. Trump is racist towards Mexicans. Because somebody would show me a 2-second clip from an interview that was maybe an hour long. Dig a little bit deeper. There's always going to be minor things that we don't agree with, but this man loves this country. There's absolutely no denying that. He wants the best for it. He's going to secure our borders. He believes in immigration when done legally. He believes in keeping men out of women's sports. He wants to stop with the whole gender and politics in school nonsense. He will make America affordable again. I hope I can get married and have a family within the next 5 years, but that's not going to be possible if Biden or any Democrat gets elected into office. I can go on and on about why Trump is a man for the job come this November. And for the next 4 months until election, this account will be completely political. I'm going to do everything I can to be a voice for Trump, especially with Gen Z. Love you guys and everybody that follows me. Thanks for being here.
So that young lady said, I'm all in for Trump. That's Kamala's biggest problem, whether it's Americans are tired of the nonsense, tired of the BS. They're tired of this. You giving bail money to the plain assholes that were torching our cities and taking over people's property and destroying it. And you bailed them out of jail. As they say, never forget. It has nothing to do, even if you don't want to get into the Willie Brown stuff. She was a disaster with the border. She conned the California people, Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act, to leash criminals on 40 million people. She's a race baiter, a fearmonger. She's a complete nutcase. There should be no any way that woman gets anywhere further closer to the White House than she already is. Hopefully she will be sent packing. I think Joe Biden's final middle finger is when Kamala loses on November 5th. He's going to appoint her. He's going to resign. Kamala's going to be president for 3 months. And then she walking out the door on January 20th, 2025 is going to pardon Joe, Hunter, Jill, and Jim. And Biden can walk around and say, I didn't do it. Nancy Mace, Congresswoman out of North Carolina. Of course, you got the whole Cheatley deal going on. The ding-dong that's run the Secret Service. Their agents can't walk on a very slightly sloped roof. And so on. Cheatley was up there at the hearings today. And even with Nancy Mace with her very bright pink sweater on, she said this.
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how
have you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions.
I would have to get back.
These are not hard questions. I will have to get back with you. Thank goodness for Nancy Mace that had enough balls to go up there and say, hey, you're full of S, lady. You know, if you're not going to say, plead the Fifth Amendment if you have to. So then we know. Try and dance around it or this or I don't know or I recall. You know what you were there. You're Biden's buddy. You hated Trump, Cheatley. Convince, prove, change our minds. You found the only kid that didn't have hardly any social media platform or anything. Just by the grace of God or whatever you believe in. A turn of the head and a quarter inch. Your plans didn't get carried out. Your orders didn't get carried out. Let's be more frank about it. If you were on the up and up, you'd answer Nancy Mace's and Jim Jordan's and everybody Comer's questions. You couldn't do it. Even little Jamie Raskin was saying, Jan 6 or committee or whatever he was on, he's going like, hey, this is getting too much. Hopefully things are turning around a bit. We shall see. If you want to get to the great bond scam, I've got that up. They're going to pass that tomorrow night, or try to put it on the ballot. They're going to try and fleece you for another $250 million. You can check out my report on their latest con job they're trying to pull on us today or tomorrow. We'll see. We got a fighting chance. It only takes one board member to stop it.
All right, 30 seconds.
We'll see how it goes. We'll have some fun, hopefully, when we come back in less than 30 seconds. Hopefully, Dr. Kelly will call in on that. We'll have much more to say on.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
Biden fiasco going on.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Views expressed are not necessarily those of the
There's funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Joining a vast video audience in the Evil FB Network and Rumble and YouTube. Check us out, subscribe on either one of those. We prefer Rumble, but hey, if YouTube hasn't thrown us off in a couple months. This is like a world's record. I knew the world was changing then, and of course the events of the past few weeks have really gotten to that. Of course, Biden's been out. Harris maybe is in. We don't quite know. We gave our opinion. We thought when Joe Biden is giving the establishment the middle finger back, okay, if you want me out, I'm gonna make it where you gotta hire Kamala because she's gonna lose worse than an mentally compromised Joe Biden. Nancy Mace told Cheatley of the Secret Service, you're full of ass. Right on the House floor. It doesn't get any better than that. We got the Moreno Valley Unified's going to have the great bond scam tomorrow. I got that up on iNewswire. But as we usually do on a Monday, we have, as I've determined her, the greatest physician in all the world, supreme expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to iNewswire with Roy.
Hey, Roy, what a crazy last few days it's been. Just when you think it couldn't have gotten any crazier, this has been, talk about a news cycle that is just going, spinning overtime. Crazy last week.
No, it is. And of that, what do you think of my theory? I think Joe, he was, all the reports were coming out. He's running, there ain't backing up anything else. I think, and when he came out, and his written statement didn't say anything about Kamala, but I mean, within seconds, he posted on the X machine, oh, I back Kamala Harris. I think he's telling the establishment, hey, F you guys, you're going to push me out. I'm going to get the last laugh on you. What do you think, Dr. Kelly?
Well, there's so many parts of this, Roy, that just really don't add up. Clearly, Joe Biden got pushed out against his will. I think it is questionable whether he even wrote that statement. As many people have pointed out now, it did not appear on official letterhead. The signature does not even look vaguely like his signature, putting it out on X as a social media post when you're talking about something as critical as, you know, stepping down from the candidacy of, you know, the major party. None of this adds up. The fact that there wasn't any video, that wasn't live, we haven't seen him. In fact, all we've heard just this afternoon is what is purportedly his voice at the Kamala Harris rally. I mean, this whole thing, you know, stinks to high heaven. I do agree with you. I think that he wanted, if he was involved in any of the messaging, I think he would have been happy to keep his endorsement of Kamala Harris independent from the announcement of his stepping down, because one is an official document. His stepping down will go in, you know, in perpetuity as an official document, where his endorsement of Kamala may not. But I don't think we have any idea. To have been a fly on the wall at the White House when all of this was going down. I suspect they were propping him up, and if his hand wielded that pen, it was with some significant help.
Could be, and I don't doubt that. But I think that the deal was, because the reports are, and I pretty much had them confirmed, there was only 2 or 3 people that even knew that. Most people, unless they're lying about it, they didn't know until minutes before that letter came out and then that X post came out that he was quitting. Up until that time, almost everybody in his inner circle still thought he was running and still didn't think he was going to back out of it, and we're still planning full forge ahead. Like I say, I think whoever made the call, if it was Jill or Hunter or whomever, finally made the call on this deal, and we'll eventually find that out. But I'm thinking they're saying, okay, you're going to force us off the reservation. Okay, we're going to give you this. And because, man, that official statement came out from the White House, and then that X post was like within seconds, him endorsing Kamala. And Nancy finally did, but Barack hasn't. He still hasn't come out for Kamala. And I mean, I'm thinking, man, I think it caught them. I think it caught the establishment by surprise, Dr. Kelly.
Well, a couple of thoughts here. First of all, there's no question in my mind that they've spent the last few days negotiating the buyout. I think they had to come up with the number that was going to make Joe, or more importantly, Jill, say, okay, they would do it. Secondly, I can pretty much guarantee that it came with some sort of guarantee that they will get Hunter pardoned in all of this. Because that was a big driver of Jill wanting Joe to stay ensconced in the Oval Office. Then, you know, with regard to Biden supporting or endorsing Kamala, I think as much as anything, that's an FU to the Obamas. There is no love lost between the Obamas and the Bidens. And I would not count Michelle Obama, Big Mike, out yet as the you know, throwing her hat in the ring as a contender. So I'm not sure yet how this is all going to play out. Kamala and certainly the majority of the Democrat Party are acting as if Kamala has this tied up, but she doesn't as yet, at least not officially, and it still is possible that somebody would throw a hat in the ring. It's not going to be somebody like a Gavin Newsom, you know, it's not going to be some white male. It could be somebody, however, like a Michelle Obama. And I promise you that in the next couple weeks, if Kamala Harris does not perform up to their standards, they will toss her to the wayside. They will kick her to the curb, just like they did with Joe. If they don't think she can win, they will try to buy her off, or they'll promise her a Supreme Court seat or something else like they tried before, and they will sideline her and they will find a different candidate.
I think, and I agree with a lot of that, because that's what I say. I think that's why Obama and, well, Nancy Pelosi was, and now Obama, well, she finally did. But I think that's why the timing of this comes out, because, man, if what are the odds that Kamala Harris, in after 57 years, can turn around from the cackling hen, the laughing hyena, witch, and everybody? I mean, I've had when she was Attorney General, they hated her up there. They hate her in the White House. She's had more staff turnover than anybody times 10 combined in 3.5 years. Everybody, practically everybody. I think even if she has a dog, her dog probably hates her. And I get that.
No,
she's crazy.
I agree with you. She gives Hillary Clinton a run for her money in terms of unlikability. She has a horrible reputation. As you said, she cannot keep staff. She is not liked in the Black community. She really is not. Part of it's because she is married to a white guy, despite what she talks about in terms of supporting her community. She has been horrible for underserved communities, and certainly during her time as a district attorney in San Francisco, she was awful. She laughs about the fact that she imprisoned, hundreds and hundreds of people for relatively petty marijuana crimes when she herself was an avid pot smoker, and she laughs about that. She has absolutely just been horrible on crime. She is single-handedly is responsible for a huge portion of the immigration problem. Let's recall, she's the border czar. Okay, she is an abject failure at that. Honestly, this goes way beyond her annoying cackling and inappropriate laughter and stupid word salad. I mean, she truly abuses the privilege of being a moron. She cannot string together a string of comprehensible sentences. She repeats these vapid phrases over and over again. And my God, I mean, she is a walking meme. She can't be president.
I'm going to steal the abuses the privilege of being a moron line. That's classic. That's why I cracked up. But we ran it, and it has to do with something you put out on the X machine. We ran the last November's New York Times interview of Kamala, and the dude at the New York Times flat asked her of that because McCarthy had said, McCarthy was still speaker, I believe, at the time, or maybe he was just out, but right around that time. He said, we're talking about budgets. Biden's out of it. Back in November. And he asked her point, and he had to ask her twice. He asked her twice, and finally he put her on the carpet and said, if Joe Biden was not able to serve or couldn't, would you come out and say it? And she gave a little laughing hyena cackle. And then she paused a long time and then finally said, well, yeah, sure, I would. She knew at that time Joe was not able to carry out the duties of the presidency back in November. She was called on the carpet on it. She was asked the question, would you? Because that guy knew it. Everybody, all the insiders knew it even back then. And she couldn't answer the question truthfully. I think that sums up Kamala Harris to a T, Dr. Kelly.
I agree. I think this is a tremendous dereliction of duty. Her obligation, her oath to the office is to protect and defend the Constitution and to protect America, to protect our country from threats, foreign and domestic. And I'm sorry, you don't have to be a constitutionalist to understand that having a sitting president who is non-compos mentis, who is not of sound mind, is incapable of carrying out the duties of the office, he is a threat. He is a threat to our country, to our national security, and she has an obligation to speak forward on that. The 25th Amendment was specifically put into place by our framers, and they left it very, very loose what the word inability means in order to leave the latitude to the vice president and the cabinet to intervene when they believed that the sitting president was unable to carry out those duties. Kamala Harris had a front row seat at that. She knows darn well, and she lied, and she didn't do it once or twice. She lied serially over the past 3.5 years about Joe Biden's ability to carry out his duties?
Shifting gears a little bit, Cheatley, who hated Trump and was with Joe Biden when he was vice president. That's why Biden put her in as the head of the Secret Service. And of course, we had Cheatley, whose Secret Service officers cannot walk up the almost flattest roof. Oh, it's too hot for them. It's too sloped, and all this other noise and stuff. The great Congresswoman, I think she's a freshman, Nancy Mace from North Carolina, rolled up there today. First question right out off of that, she's reading it and she looks at Cheatley and says, "You're full of S." I mean, right. I'm like going, man, the apocalypse has to be happening with the events of the last 3 or 4 weeks of going on. We're finally getting in, and even little Jamie Raskin of the Jan 6 committee is going, and Democrat Trump hater is like going at Cheatley saying, you know, come on, this, you know, this isn't Comer or Jim Jordan or the mean Nancy Mace. Little Jamie Raskin's up there kind of like saying, hey, I can't even defend this. And she's word-mouthing, word salad. You know, if you're going to do that, just take the Fifth Amendment or shut up. I would have more respect to you if you just clammed up and didn't say anything. But don't go up and say stupid stuff or I can't say or all that. We're done with that, Dr. Kelly.
Oh, I'll tell you, you know, you needed only have watched a fraction of those hearings today with Kimberly Cheatle to understand that she was complicit in the assassination attempt on Trump. She's not just incompetent. This wasn't an issue of incompetence. She was participant in it. She was non-cooperative. She said she didn't know or refused to answer almost every question. Nancy Mace was brilliant, but she was one of dozens, bipartisan, by the way. This was both sides of the aisle. You know, Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, raked Cheatle over the coals as well. She said, you know, given that, you know, an AR-15 is one of the most common guns used in these sorts of attacks, and that, you know, they have a 300 to 400 yard range, why would your perimeter only be 100 yards for your Secret Service? Like, what kind of idiot do you have to be? But Cheatle, she refused to answer the most basic questions, like how many spent rounds did you find on the roof? She knows the answer to that question. She tells us that she knows. She says that the FBI has shared it with her, but she refused to share that with Congress and therefore with the American people. We have every right to know this. She's been absolutely obstructive. She should be fired forthwith. There are people on both sides of the aisle calling for that. I would not give her an opportunity to resign. She should be fired for cause, and her entire career should be destroyed after this.
If well, maybe in 3.5 months she will be facing criminal charges of that. Because they could have changed it. I don't know. We got the DEI military now with Austin and Milley and all that crap. If you cannot be qualified, to carry a weapon out of boot camp if you can't hit a target from 300 yards on sights, not a scope, on sights. You will not be qualified, or you used to not be. I'm not saying that today. They could have changed this. But with that, the AR-15 that is the base weapon for most of the U.S. military now. So what the hell? You're, like you said, 100 yards or this or that. And even if you're going to push it off on local law enforcement, where was the sent command button that everybody pushed that if somebody, when that cop got up there and saw the guy finally the cop saw him with a gun and then retreated for whatever reason, and we need to find out why. Why, even if he retreated or what, why wasn't he hitting the big red button and saying, hey, there's a dude with a gun up on top of this roof?
Listen, Cheatle claimed that there was no threat, that there was someone who was suspicious but no threat. And this is what she defined as, quote, no threat. A guy with a backpack, a rangefinder, a drone, okay, who's seen on the roof of the building with a gun. That is was suspicious to her. Okay, here I would encourage everybody, if they haven't, to pull up the document written by Senator Ron Johnson. It was just released. It's a report of his, quote, preliminary findings, July 13, 2024 assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. There is only one possible explanation you can come to when you read through his very exhaustive findings, and that is that the Secret Service deliberately withheld security from the former president, we just witnessed an attempt by government insiders to overthrow the U.S. Constitution and to try to assassinate the would-be candidate for the major party. And I think that that's the only conclusion you can come to. We have got to get to the bottom of this, given the amount of it is not 43 years ago when they assassinated Bobby Kennedy. It's not 61 years ago when they assassinated John F. Kennedy. Everybody has a cell phone now. There is video footage from every which way but Sunday, every angle. We have so many reports of a second shooter, we can put this together. We aren't relying just on the Zapruder film, as we were with John F. Kennedy. We have the receipts for this, and we have got to rely on our representatives in Congress to keep digging until they expose every rotten individual who is part of this plan.
We had a couple minutes left. I wonder if there any it was a perfect time because Fauci's on there trying to downplay the assassination attempt and all this stuff. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop of some sort of false flag. We're going to try to bring the COVID back with this old Biden getting it in. I'm bracing in the next 3.5 months, and I'm thinking sooner rather than later, they're going to try and spring another COVID thing on us. We got a couple minutes left. What do you think, Dr. Kelly?
Oh yeah. I think they are going to create as much chaos as possible. I think their original attempt was to assassinate President Trump, or to be able to at least set off social unrest, civil unrest as a result, in hopes that they could enact martial law and therefore upset the November election. I think they will launch either disease X, whether it's bird flu or some other avian flu, or they'll dust off COVID again. Our current sitting, Captain Pudding Cup, our current sitting president, who as is still hanging on by a thread, I'll remind people he has had 6 injections so far, 6 of the mRNA shots, and now has COVID for the 3rd time. So if anybody thinks that the shots were effective, I would argue otherwise. But yes, I think you're right. They are going to continue to do, Roy, whatever they need to do to create chaos and unrest so that they can manipulate the election in November, whether that means by the use of mail-in ballots, by sheer fraud, by canceling the election, whatever it is. This isn't over yet, and we still have the October surprise to look forward to.
Don't doubt that. The only thing I'm going to say rolling out is I think tinfoil hats are going to become the hat wear popular across the world after all this. Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Thanks. Talk soon, Roy.
You got it. There's Dr. Kelly saying it only as she can of that. Oh, man, it's something else going on here with all this stuff. Abusing the privilege of being a moron. Oh, my. I'm going to have to steal that one. No, we're in for a very interesting ride here on that. It's going to be very interesting. When, again, the latest apocalypse, not only Nancy Mace, but it wasn't Nancy Mace and demean Jim Jordan and James Comer. It was Jamie Raskin and AOC saying, we're not believing this crap. I think, of course, everybody's, they're trying to push, or at least the loony left, their last scratching of the claws are going to be Kamala And I think that wet dream's going to collapse before, what is it, about another month, 3 weeks before the Democratic convention. I think by that time, Alice Kamala, you got to hear, just let her speak. I think Joe is more coherent, even in his current state, than Kamala. But it's going to be a very, very, very interesting ride, some interesting times coming up. But again, with all the stuff coming on, I'm seeing the signs of hope and change, and in the right direction this time, instead of the line we were fed back in 2008 or 92. As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Toyota or Subaru, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 and 215 freeways. Of course, don't forget I-10 Toyota down in that lower desert. If you're in the Moreno Valley area, tomorrow 6 o'clock, you don't want to be scammed for another $240 million times 2 or 3 because you got to pay the interest on the bond. Be down there and let your voice heard. My dad even gave a couple of encouraging words to Luis Palomares saying, get in there and fight this thing. We'll be there tomorrow, of course. We only need 1 vote to get it out, to get it from being put on the ballot. Long odds, but you got to. Oops, wrong one. There we go. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours. Why? To hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid program.
All right, Roy. That is it.
Yeah, I should have some sort. I'm thinking I should have some sort. It might be a short tape. It might be a full, depending on how I get it in tomorrow, but I'll have something in there.
All right. Sounds good.
You got her.
Take it easy.